Today on the show, we're going to talk about RJ Hampton and how the only people that value college anymore are the folks in college or being sustained by college. We're also going to talk about Oklahoma women's softball and what's at stake for a third national championship in 4 years. I want to get into this Bru McCoy noise as Sam Ehlinger and the man Tom Herman have made their trip down to LA to re-recruit him, and Zach Evans leaving off the top 2 Texas schools in his top 5, and all that's coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time. And yes, as you can see, this is an on-demand video. I am suspending live streams for the time being. We'll bring them back when we bring them back. I make no promises as to when. I don't know when. I'm just taking a break from them because, well, if you've been participating in the live streams, you've seen how they have gone of late. So we're going to do this for a while, as my favorite 3-year-old likes to say. So I want to get started by talking about Warriors Raptors like everybody else, but I really wanted to just impress upon you. There's a few things that you need to be watching for. One is, yes, it is true that the Golden State Warriors are 31 for 32 when Kevin Durant does not play. And that's their last 32 for those of you that are really keeping score. But you got to know that it's got to get on Kevin Durant's nerves, right? Because we're talking about him as, do the Warriors really need him? Are they better without him? No, they're not better without him. But for his psyche, as a guy who has burner accounts, as a guy who really does not like criticism, and as a guy who really can't stay off of the internet, you got to know that this is hurting him up and down. And I know for a lot of Oklahoma City fans, it's like, yeah, schadenfreude, dude. This is how it goes. When you treat people poorly, they want you to be treated poorly yourself. So I don't really blame you for dunking on Kevin Durant. I don't blame you for dunking on Drake. But I would like to tell you that the Toronto Raptors are doing something that, quite frankly, is not what it's supposed to be. They don't have a single lottery pick on their roster. I think this is an anomaly. This is not the new normal. This is not to say that you can build a roster full of non-lottery picks, but it is to say the Raptors did it to prove that somebody could do it, and they did it with a first-year coach after they fired the coach of the year last year who won 59 games, and they did what a lot of folks just would not do, which is do the rental, trade an all-star, a guy that could play for Team USA and DeMar DeRozan, for Kawhi Leonard, and say, hey, we're going to throw everything we got into it. And this is how it ended up. Now, you got the 4-bounce basket to beat the 76ers to get into a place to where you could go at Giannis, but nobody expected Milwaukee to beat up on, or excuse me, nobody expected the Raptors to beat up on Milwaukee. We expected Giannis to just muscle his way to the rim and that be that. But the Raptors proved that if you got Kawhi Leonard, all things are possible defensively because you didn't expect Kawhi Leonard to lock down Giannis Antetokounmpo in the way that he did. And more to the point, when nobody else was hitting shots but Chris Middleton, it became a really easy game. I don't think that's going to be what it is with the Golden State Warriors, but I will say this. If I am the Raptors, I'm going to put Kawhi on Draymond to start and not on Steph Curry. Why? Because when Draymond Green comes up there to set that pick, you get the natural switch of Kawhi on Steph Curry, and we know that Steph Curry don't want them problems, all right? We know that Steph Curry is going to fall asleep chasing around Danny Green as much as there is chasing around Danny Green, who basically stands in the corners and does not really hit jumpers. But you know that if you can get Kawhi on Steph, you got a chance to win the series. At the other end, I expect Klay Thompson to be on Kawhi Leonard, and I really, really, really expect Draymond Green to either step up and take away Marc Gasol or Pascal Siakam, whoever's knocking down shots at the time. But it could be a much more interesting series. Yes, like everybody else, picking Golden State, but that doesn't mean that I don't want Toronto to win. Even if that means I got to see Drake running up and down the sidelines. Really like his music, and I kind of feel what he's doing because he's interloping and whatnot. But I also am going to give him all the shade because Drake shows up everywhere doing everything for whoever seems to be winning, and nobody is in on that. But we are all in on the next segment.
Are you listening?
Build an argument. This is Sports Talk Radio, not your daddy's Facebook page.
Damn.
So, Oklahoma softball has been a juggernaut. I would dare say that Oklahoma softball has been just as dominant as the Golden State Warriors in the same stretch of time. We're talking about a team that has a chance to win a third national championship in 4 years in a sport where, at least at the top end, 16-1, it's supposed to be really good. But it's really when you get to this place that we are now, the Women's College World Series, where the top 8 feel like they can beat up on each other. Now, you got some really cool stories going in this. One of them is Oklahoma State. So you got the 2 Bedlam teams in the national championship tournament, the Women's College World Series tournament in Oklahoma City. It's a very cool thing for our state. Sam showing up. People forget this. It wasn't just that they beat Florida State. It's that they beat Megan King, who pitched complete games to win the national championship last year, which is to say that Oklahoma State beat up on the national champs, the defending national champs from last year, and a team that hit 104 dingers, which was the most in the NCAA this year, and held them to just 1. And that 1 was too late. So you got an Oklahoma State team that is scrappy, that fights, that is clawed, and they took it. And they deserve every bit of what they're getting. And I am rooting for them against everybody but Oklahoma, because that's my team. But when we're looking at Oklahoma, you're looking at a core that really knows what it means to win. And I dare say that they're expecting to do this in a way that the Warriors expect to do this. They're number 1 overall seed. We get that. They also got Giselle Juarez, Rex Specs, in the circle, and all she's been doing is dealing. They won 41 straight. They went undefeated in Big 12 play. We're really going to be talking about this team as if they don't make the championship series. That is not going to be what it is here, because we expect them to make the championship series more than we would in normal years this year, because this team is just that good. Top to bottom, they hit and they can field, and you could pretty much throw Giselle out there all you want, but more to the point, you didn't have to throw Giselle Juarez out there. That was kind of the cool part about all of this. You didn't have to throw out there in a game in Super Regionals that you wanted to win. You could give her a day of rest because you're that deep. And I wonder how Patty is going to do this, because I remember when they won this in 2013, one of the cool parts was being able to throw Michelle Gascoigne out there, who, by the way, was the pitching coach for Northwestern, which I thought was kind of interesting. But you were able to throw Michelle Gascoigne out there, and I remember Tennessee coaches going, there's no tape on her, so we didn't know what she was throwing and how she was throwing it, because Patty Gasso was playing chess. Why are you playing checkers? And I wonder how much of this is going to be true with Giselle Juarez, because, she's first team All-American out there at Arizona State before she transferred for undisclosed reasons. I want to know what the reasons are, Giselle. I would really like to know why Rex Specs Juarez left Arizona State for OU, and I understand that, it's a better program and they're going to win national championships, I should say, and you also have a better opportunity to be on TV, but, I don't know how much being on TV is really in it for a woman that grew up in Glendale, Arizona, went to Arizona State, was obviously recruited by Oklahoma before she transferred. It's going to be an interesting story, and I don't expect softball to pick that apart, because that's be my one beef with softball coverage. Y'all want us to care about the sport year-round. You want us to care about the sport when you're not talking about things that, aren't necessarily not going on. So like football. When football season's on, we're not going to be talking about softball. It's just what it is. But when we care about it, we want to know what the stories are. And we want to know what, like I'm going to talk about later in the show, Bru McCoy, Zach Evans. We want to know what it is. And y'all be like, nah, this is a ticky-tacky sport. We're high-fiving each other. We have good girls and boys. Nah, but forget that. Give me the grimy. Give me the grit. If you want me to care about this sport in a real way, I got to know what the stories are that are moving the needle, man. And some of the more stories that are moving the needle are undisclosed reasons for suspensions, or not suspensions, for transfers. I really want to know what those things are. And I also know that Patty Gasso has been working to get transfers over here for undisclosed reasons for quite some time. Shelby Penley, a while back, coming over from Arizona. You know what I mean? And now we got Arizona back in the series, and Mike Candrea finally got a team back in the series. So I'm really excited about seeing all that, because I came up when Mike Candrea still had Jenny Finch in the circle, and she was out there dealing. Matter of fact, my favorite story about Jenny Finch is that she married a professional baseball player, and they had a kid, and they named that kid Ace. Yo, you better be coming out throwing just bullets and 12-6 hammers, dog, because your parents named you Ace, and you can never, ever, ever get away from that. You better be the best at the sports. All right, next segment. Okay, so you've heard by now that R.J. Hampton has decided to forego the college experience to play in the Australian Basketball League, the NBL, for the New Zealand squad, right? Now, there's a number of reasons for why this makes a lot of sense. One of them is, hey, I want to get paid, and I want to go where I'm going to get really great competition year in, year out. He had Texas Tech, Memphis, and Kansas on the list of places that he's trying to go before he said, nah, you know what? I'm going to get this loot. And now we're getting to see that this is a guy that did not run from college because he wasn't going to qualify or had academic problems like, say, Brian Bowen or Terrence Ferguson at Oklahoma City. This is a guy who said, no, I frankly just want to play professionally because I am a professional as it is, or I have the skill set of being a professional. And we're trying to shove college down his throat for what, a year? Now, I find this interesting for a number of reasons, not the least of which is 2005, we started seeing college basketball coaches get paid $10 million a year in some cases, right? They're $1 million coaches at the Power 5 level, just what it is. And you're trying to tell me that a one-and-done kid is getting that kind of marketing value and exposure. And you've heard me say this about Zion, and I understand why you don't really like the pay for play in college athletics. But if you want to see the best players playing college basketball, you are going to have to pay them. Just take a look at the corruption trial that's been going on, where we're talking about DeAndre Ayton's mama getting $10,000 a month for him to play at Arizona. Now, coincidentally, the G League was putting out $125,000 a year for select players, which DeAndre Ayton would have been, one of those dudes that would have got a select contract. So I find it interesting that we're getting upset about RJ Hampton choosing to go play overseas and then go into the draft. And we're also getting upset at the Australian Basketball League going, yes, we will be a feeder system for the NBA for as long as the NBA wants to have the one and done rule. Now, depending on who you talk to, if you have a vested interest in college athletics, of course, you want to see the best players choose college because you think the scholarship is valuable. But what we're finding out is parents and highly touted recruits of parents and highly touted recruits don't. They want to see their children get paid. And I would want to see my child get paid, especially if that college diploma is not really going to help me until way after the fact. And way after the fact, I might not even need it. Because if you're a DeAndre Ayton, you just got paid millions. If you're putting that money into stocks and bonds and investments and building out your business, no, you don't need a college diploma. You can get all of that knowledge at the library for 56 cents in late charges if that's what you want. So stop trying to shove the college basketball experience down a college basketball player's throat or trying to shove it down a high school basketball player's throat. Let those dudes go get their money because they're only going to be there for a year anyway. Zion Williamson was never returning to Duke. And more to the point, we got 233 entrants into the NBA draft this year for 60 spots. Think about that. Now, you heard me talk earlier about the lottery and how the Raptors were able to put together a squad without lottery picks, but that is not the rule. That is the exception. And we got dudes that are going to return to college, and that's good. That's what it is. But 233 dudes want to get paid. And if there are 233 dudes for 60 spots, that should tell you a lot about what the industry needs and where the industry is going. So I expect to see top 10, top 25 recruits choose to play professionally more than they might choose to go to college. Now, if you want the college experience, that's you. I get that. If that's cool. I understand the value of that. But I also understand the value of just want to get acclimated to your work environment as quickly as possible. And we know that you only get to play a professional sport for a limited amount of time because your body will only allow it for a limited amount of time. We're talking about Chris Paul being washed up at 34 years old. Bro, I'm 31. And everybody that I talk to would tell me that I'm a young cat. And that as a young cat, I'm very talented at what I'm doing. And as a young cat, the sky is the limit for me. And there's lots of stuff down the road. And now you're trying to tell me that because the profession I've chosen, this, is not me running up and down a court or running up and down a field where my body is laid on the line. That's why you can see a broadcaster in a role until they're 85 years old. It's why you can see Bill Snyder coaching till he's 80 years old. It's just a different lick. So why not go get your lick? Why you can get your licks in? And getting your licks in means getting your loot. So with RJ Hampton. Man, not Frampton. Who am I thinking of? Connor Frampton. That's what I'm thinking of. With RJ Hampton, I expect to see more of this, especially as the NBA draft feels like it's going to go back to having high school players be eligible for the draft in 2022. And it's going to re-up the system. My man, Jonathan Abrams, wrote a really great book about this called Boys Among Men, right? You should go read it. It's about the one-and-done generation. Nobody wants to see another Lenny Cook. Nobody wants to see another Tony Key, and there will be. But let's not forget, getting paid is also what it is. And we all live in this capitalist society, this capitalist system where we all got to get loot. And if we're not getting loot, we're not doing our jobs. If we're not doing our jobs, we're not feeding our families. And we know that feeding our families and providing is above all else. All right, let's get into the next segment. Okay, so I find it hilarious what's going on at the University of Texas right now when we talk about Bru McCoy. For those of you that still need the setup, here's what it is. The setup is Bru McCoy pulled the hat out on television, said USC. And folks that know from Bru McCoy's recruitment, like me, Know that Bru McCoy had a USC jersey in his closet. He's grown up a USC fan. He grew up down the street from USC. He went to Mater Dei, which is just outside of Los Angeles. It always felt like that was where he was going to be. But we had a dumpster fire out there at USC. They went 5-7 in a year where they probably shouldn't have. They had a true freshman quarterback who, by the way, I think is going to be pretty good in JT Daniels, and that's his boy. Bru McCoy's boy is JT Daniels, and I always felt like they were going to be a good tandem if they could ever get the kind of offensive line offense going that could support them. So that was why Clay Helton decided to go get newly fired head coach Cliff Kingsbury to run his offense and put in an offense in air raid that he, frankly, doesn't know anything about and never coached with. And that was the first sign that Clay Helton is on borrowed time. And then Cliff Kingsbury got the call of calls, which was quite simply, this is the Arizona Cardinals. These are the New York Jets. We want to know if we can interview you for the head coaching job at either one of these places. And Cliff Kingsbury said, yes, yeah. And then Les Swan was like, no, or you can't do that. Nah, I don't want that to happen. So he vetoed it, and that was a bad look because, you USC, and you don't want to look like you just holding on to people for holding on to them sake because you think that you need to be petty and keep the dude that you just hired a month ago. Just let that dude go interview. Now, after all of that, Cliff Kingsbury ended up getting the job at Arizona, head coach Arizona Cardinals, and he went to recruiting Kyler Murray away from baseball, saying, I'm going to take you number 1 overall, and this is how I'm going to get back into Bru McCoy getting the Kyler Murray treatment that I find wildly fascinating. But Bru McCoy did not like seeing the new offensive coordinator who had the job for a month leaving for Arizona and said, you know what? I've enrolled for exactly 1 day. I am flipping to Texas. Come get me Tom Herman. And Tom Herman did that junk. And now you got Bru McCoy at Texas. And you got Texas's Rudy class jumping up because they just got the number 1 athlete in the 2019 class, number 9 overall prospect, and a big body frame at wide receiver to continue the legacy of big body frame wide receivers not getting drafted. Now, after a semester at Austin, comes out Bru McCoy is homesick. He's unhappy. He no longer wants to be at the University of Texas. He wants to know if he can go back to USC. Now, this is laughable for a number of reasons. One, it's a teenager being a teenager. Teenagers don't know what they want. Teenagers make bad decisions. And because of the transfer portal and the way that the waiver request is working out for guys like Justin Fields, Tate Martell, we can keep going. You always thought that Bru McCoy was going to be able to do this if he wanted to do this. And because he is a highly regarded recruit, we're going to watch him do it, and people are going to continue to recruit him. So Clay Helton was like, cool. By all sources say, he's got a scholarship at USC if he wants to go to USC. So, knowing all of that, Tom Herman, who's supposed to be on vacation, I don't know, Magic City Tom does what Magic City Tom does, got the band together. That'd be Sam Hargy Ellinger. That'd be wide receivers coach Drew Maringer, who is the best recruiter they have, and would be Bru McCoy's position coach, and director of player development, Kevin Washington. He said, we're going to fly out to LA to re-recruit Bru McCoy. And that happened this afternoon, that'd be Wednesday. And I think that in and of itself is funny because the same thing happened to Kyler Murray as he's flirting with the NFL, and the Oakland Athletics are trying to convince him, please, dear God, Kyler, please stay with us. We're going to make you the franchise. We're going to give you a major league contract. We're going to give you the major league bonus. We're going to put you on the 40-man roster. We want to fast track you to the Oakland Athletics to play center field and hit dingers. And Kyler Murray said, yeah, but I'm going to be number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. And NFL money, quarterback, I think I'm going to do that. And now we got Hard G, Magic City Tom, Drew Maringer, and Kevin Washington trying to give Bru McCoy and his family the same pitch. Now, there's lots of fans that are going to be very upset about this because we live in a teamwork world. The civic evolution of us is us, not I. And whenever you look like an I, it's going to look back to us. And that's what it is right now. So if Tom Herman cannot convince Bru McCoy to stay in Austin for the length of his college football career, it's a bad look on top of another bad look that I'm going to get to in a second. But I also think that if you're USC, you kind of want an answer. And yeah, you thought you were done recruiting. You thought that you had the dude. The dude said he wanted to come here. And by all accounts, he wants to be at USC because here's another key fact. Bru McCoy hasn't signed his own waiver request to play immediately at Texas. And the way that waiver requests have been getting granted, you almost certainly expect him to get that request granted and play at Texas in the fall. Whereas if he transferred to USC, by all accounts, he's going to have to sit out the year. So he'd rather sit out the year and not play than go back to Texas and play as a true freshman. Oh, that's a bad look for Texas. Because, yeah, I get a dude being homesick, and I get a dude not necessarily feeling like he's going to play right away, or maybe being told, hey, you got to work your way up the depth chart a little bit more, but still, having the opportunity to play right way as opposed to having to go to a place where you know you're going to have to sit out and redshirt because the NCAA transfer rules directly affect you because you'd be transferring to USC. You would not be signing with USC. That would be a bad look. So you really need Magic City Tom to win this if you're a Texas fan. And by win this, I mean Bru McCoy. You need that dude coming back. And I found all of that to be wildly interesting, but not as interesting as what's going on in recruiting with Zach Evans. Next segment.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening?
Build an argument. This is Sports Talk Radio, not your daddy's Facebook page. All right, so what it is Zach Evans dropped his top 5. Zach Evans is the number 1 overall recruit in the 2020 24/7 composite. If he finishes as the number 1 player in the class, he would be the first number 1 player in a class that plays running back since Leonard Fournette, and just the 3rd in recruiting rankings era, the other one being Joe McKnight. We all know how that ended up for Joe McKnight, RIP. Now, what I find most interesting about this is that his top 5 included Alabama, LSU, Georgia, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. So, let's just laugh for just a little bit about the number 1 player in the country of Texas left Texas A&M and Texas off of his top 5 list. Let's also have a chuckle in that folks that I talked to, and I talked to a bunch of them, Zach Evans ain't really been talking to Oklahoma in like a month. So what's Oklahoma doing there on the list? Well, tells you the strength and the power of OU. Just, you want to be associated, want to associate yourself with them. I don't really think that Zach Evans is going to end up at Oklahoma, but I do think this is some major shade directed at Ampersand U and Magic City Tom's Texas Longhorns. Look, I just think it's funny. I think it's all the way funny because the man even ended up giving a quote saying why he might have left Texas off of his top 5. Not might have. He actually did do that noise. Look, he said, it's just, you don't know how to put it. I don't want to be disrespectful. I ain't saying Texas can't win a natty. It's just at the moment, Texas is not quite there. You beat Georgia, but you barely beat Georgia. What about when it comes to a Bama or go to a Clemson? Texas is a good school. They're coming up. It's just, I don't know. Dog, that is the 2nd top tier 5-star prospect in 2 years to drag Texas in quotes. It's one thing to leave him off the list. It's another thing to drag him in quotes. Garrett Wilson did that noise last year when Garrett Wilson said out loud, Texas doesn't develop anybody. And boy, was he right. Look at the 2019 draft. You have one dude selected in the 5th round, one dude selected in the 7th round. LJ Humphrey decided to leave school early, undrafted. Colin Johnson went back to school because he got a stay in school draft grade when he would say, hey, would I be drafted 1st round? Look, I'm also looking at going, Zach Evans knows what's up. Zach Evans knows that he wants to win a national championship. He knows that Oklahoma's been in the college football playoff 3 of the last 5 years and the last two consecutively. You know what I mean? We also know that Oklahoma's kind of RBU. Samaje Perine, Joe Mixon, go back to Billy Sims. You want to, Adrian Peterson. We can keep going. You know, I mean, got dudes there right now going to play in the league. Trey Sermon, Kennedy Brooks. You know what it is. You know what time it is. Apparently, Zach Evans does too. And I find that wildly fascinating because it's not just that this is Zach Evans. It's not just the number 1 running back in this class. It's also because this is a historically deep running back class. Like, it's legit good. Like, Tulsa Edison's Savion Morse would normally get an OU offer. Ain't going to get one this year because they're just so deep in this class. And for Texas to miss out on that dude in a top 5 list, by the way, it's list season. If you follow recruits' Twitter at all, it's top 10s, it's top 8s, it's top 5s, it's top 4s, it's top whatever. But I would have expected Zach Evans to be on that list, to have Texas on that list, because that's what everybody thought was going on. And Zach Evans said, let me correct y'all of this stupid notion that I am entertaining Texas. And even if he ends up at Texas, and I sincerely do not think that he will, this coming out in May, before the summer recruiting really starts up, is just massively a bad look on top of the Bru McCoy nonsense. There's no way of putting it other than, yo, what is it going to take to fix Texas? Because I hear people talking about, look, not even Adrian Peterson can stop Texas from winning that championship in 2005. Cool. All right. Let's forget that you got doubled up by Maryland. Let's forget that you got skull dragged by piss poor Oklahoma State. And let's forget that dude that won your national championship can't even keep a job at the University of Texas. Okay? Forget all of that. You've been mediocre for like 10 years. And you had one 10-win season, and all of a sudden, you're back? You won a Sugar Bowl against Georgia. Good for you. Oklahoma's won 2 Sugar Bowls in the last 5 years. Okay? Beat Alabama and Auburn. All right? What else? How many Big 12 titles? How many of the last 4? Oh, yeah, all 4 of those are Oklahoma's. The way this works is you have a college football regular season in the Big 12, and we have this ceremony where Texas hands Oklahoma the Big 12 championship every year. It's a ritual that I've become quite fond of. And yeah, you got the Red River rivalry. Cool. You keep the golden hat, we'll keep the Big 12 trophy, we'll keep the college football playoff berth. And you'll keep saying, hey, that's y'all ceiling. Y'all the Buffalo Bills of college football. Cool. But you can't even reach the ceiling, Texas. Tell me how many Heisman trophies you've had in the last decade. Okay? Oklahoma's had 3. You know, how many number 1 overall draft picks? Oh, yeah, also 3. What else are we going to talk about here? I mean, because we can keep going. I can keep busting up Texas all day, and I have fun doing it because I'm an OU fan, right? But I also find it wildly fascinating that you can't. I've been saying wildly fascinating a lot. I find it very, very cool that Texas is having these problems in May. As Oklahoma fans stand here eating, looking and going, hey, oh yeah, did you know that OU has elite high school camp beginning on June 1 and another one on June 8? While you're trying to recruit a guy that you already thought you had in February that wants to go back to USC in May. Yeah, I'm having wild fun with this. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm going to try to do this thing sporadically, maybe once a week. We'll see. Yeah, have a good time. All right, that's it for me. If you like the videos, don't forget to like and subscribe because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time. I will see you tomorrow. Deuces.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening?
Build an argument. This is Sports Talk Radio, not your daddy's Facebook page.
Damn.
You better come with a stronger opinion than that. No, I don't hate your team. Your team is just trash. Bring flame. Don't be a lame. Fight me. This is the RJ Young Show.